Good afternoon, mates. How are y'all doing today? It is Sunday, July 9th, 2023, and you could say that I made an arrangement to go for a revisit to the Bok Tower Gardens, which is, of course, based in the one and only Lake Wales, Florida. So we're basically now in the central part of the state. So staying in the shade and having my handy hat has been useful, especially with, the more inland you are, the humidity seems to be much higher. And given the time of year that it is, it's a toasty one. But anyway, here we have the famous Bok Tower Gardens, named after the individual Edward Bok, not to be confused with the musician Bach. Rather, it's spelled, let's be okay. No, literally, it's actually spelled B-O-K. Oh, shoot, that's funny. It's a play on words. But anyway, this was one of his retirement areas. He initially lived up in, I believe it was New York City, and he was a well-known journalist for his time. And basically where we are, it's known as the Iron Mountain of Florida, because we are situated on what is known as the Lake Wales Ridge, which is one of the more elevated parts of the state. So that being said, it's elevated due to the fact that this portion of the state never went underwater millions of years ago. So, given that he stayed in a living community nearby, he saw this area as a great opportunity to incorporate a garden site and to also allow people to connect with nature, especially during the boom of the Industrial Revolution, as it was even advancing into the 20th century. Which, in a sense, we could use the same exact mentality today in the midst of development that's happening in the state. But anyway, when he saw this area, he had a particular vision. And through that vision, he hired an individual named Frank Olmstead Jr., who was the son of Frank Olmstead Sr. Frank Olmstead Sr. was basically the founder of American landscape, or landscaping. He was one of the main figures who helped put together Central Park in New York City. But as it got into the late 1800s, going into the 20th century, is when he passed, and so his son continued his legacy and work. And Frank Olmstead Jr., he was hired by Edward Bok to incorporate this particular garden site, which, by the way, spans several acres. It's huge gardens. And so, in that process of hiring Frank Olmstead Jr., he wanted to incorporate native plants during the time, but he also wanted to ensure that people would still have some areas to have isolation and just feel like they're actually immersed instead of just adding different plants. I mean, you can just see, based on the arrangement of the different trees, palms, native plants, even though nowadays there are non-native plants too, it feels like it's more than just a gardens. You feel like you're truly in a piece of Florida's wilderness. But in that process of incorporating the gardens, there was also a vision to create what is known as the Singing Tower. And right now, it is actually playing a recording on the carillon. Now, some of you may be asking, what exactly is a carillon? Well, essentially it refers to a musical instrument, but a large-scale one. So a carillon is mostly a collection of different bells. I believe this one has up to 60. And the thing is, these bells were not made here. Rather, they were actually made clear over in England, and they were shipped over here. And it is said that the heaviest bell is roughly 20 tons, whereas the lightest bell is only 16 pounds. So when I say 20 tons, well, that might be an exaggeration. What I mean to say is the heaviest bell is roughly 22,000 pounds, which is still a lot. But anyway, the Singing Tower is one of the most popular sites at the Bok Tower Gardens. I mean, even the place is named after it. It's mostly built out of marble, as well as even limestone, too. So like the pink, a little bit of that pink that you are seeing, that's some of that marble, whereas some of that more beige, like right through here, that's more of your limestone. I believe that was locally sourced from Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, it is truly a unique site. And this place was first incorporated back in 1929, February 1st, to be specific. And it is said that up to 75,000 people attended the event. That was an event such high in attendance that Florida has never seen before. So you figure a lot of the local stores, gas stations around here in Lake Wales, they were completely empty after this event. Even the President Calvin Coolidge made an appearance here. So it's a highly recommended area if you haven't been. I'm sure I'll do some other couple of videos while I'm here, just because there's so much to say about this place. So really, if it wasn't for Edward Bok and his team of Frank Olmstead Jr, Milton Medary, who was primarily responsible for sculpting the Singing Tower, among other people, we wouldn't have this place. For all we know, were it not for them, it's possible that this very area that I'm standing in would just be another developed area. So, alright. Take care, you guys. Have a good one.